Fandoms. They've always existed and will continue to do so, whether they're small or large. There are fandoms for everything: bands, TV shows, manga, anime, YouTubers, or video games. I'm sure a lot of you know that some fandoms have committed acts that are downright grotesque and extreme. That's why today I'm covering this iceberg I made of terrible things fandoms have done. In typical iceberg fashion, we'll start with the lighter stuff and get darker as we dive deeper into the iceberg. This iceberg is going to be pretty cut and dry. I don't intend on it being too long. I'm just going to talk about the interesting and important details of each case. Enough with the intro, let's get into it. So this is referring to that in November 2020, Nintendo released a winter update for Animal Crossing, which included a new hairstyle called Space Buns. A user posted her character with this hairstyle, and it didn't take long for part of the fandom to criticize her, claiming that this hairstyle was meant for black characters. Accusing her of cultural appropriation. Overwhelmed by negative responses, the user eventually decided to leave Twitter, and we're just getting started with that. When the Resident Evil 4 remake was released, part of the fandom criticized Ada Wong's voice acting, escalating to harassment of the actress. The main complaints were that she sounded like a dull character, not seductive as in the original. And a lot of people said it was the worst performance they'd heard in years. Because of this, the actress had to step away from social media, although she left a message addressing the hate she received. When Encanto premiered, it had an overly active fandom, but also controversy surrounding a Japanese artist who drew the movie's family using pastel colors. The skin tone appeared slightly different from the film, which part of the American fandom criticized as whitewashing, a term used for lightening a character's skin tone. This led Latinos to revive the hashtag #ShutUpGringo, basically saying they weren't bothered by it and were tired of outsiders meddling in things that didn't concern them. This one's sort of funny. Okay, what hasn't the League of Legends fandom done? This game has always had toxic players who, wish you death, insult you in any way possible. I could list several examples, but one I found during my research involves a professional player who was harassed and insulted by his own team members because he was gay. And this isn't an isolated case. The Halo community is one of the most indecisive and never satisfied, especially after 343 Industries took over the franchise from Bungie. A case that reflects what I'm talking about occurred when the free multiplayer beta of Halo Infinite was released. The moderators of the Halo subreddit had to shut it down for the entire weekend because of people's behavior. Some users were responsible for doxing and death threats according to the moderators. Yeah, pretty crazy. When Plants vs. Zombies became property of Electronic Arts, the community split in two, but as if that wasn't enough, an image was circulating among the Plants vs. Zombies groups, which was a type of outfit for the Sunshroom plant that had a transgender flag on the top of its head. People clearly disliked this a lot, harshly criticizing the skin of the solar room, even reaching extremes of criticizing the actual real-life community. Ultimately, the skin wasn't official at all, but a mod for the game, and those who complained about it thinking it was official ended up looking like clowns. The Minecraft community has had too many controversies, that's no surprise. Even the community itself is against the company Mojang for the weak updates they make to the game. But also, the community attacks each other over server rivalries, reaching extremely high extremes, such as the case of students who were arrested for the Mirai attack. Which was a DDoS attack that crippled the internet. And that all started in Minecraft. But there's also another similar case. It's when hundreds of schools in the United Kingdom received threats that they would be the victim of bomb attacks. These emails were falsified to make it appear that they were made by a Minecraft server. This was done in order to shut down the server. The administrators had to come out and say that they were not the ones who made the such threats, but a group of cybercriminals who harassed the server in any way. It's obvious that these threats were fake, created by a rival or someone who is banned from the server. But that doesn't take away from the fear that those schools went through. In Rick and Morty and the fandom, something pretty embarrassing happened. In an episode of the series and a monologue by Rick, a joke is made about a sauce that the character mentions. McDonald's, in collaboration with the series, decided to sell the Szechuan sauce in their locations for one day. This caused fans of the series to go to the establishment. Some asked for the sauce in a very strange way, bordering on just embarrassing.
No Szechuan sauce? No. I want Szechuan sauce! Where's my Szechuan sauce? I'm Pickle Rick! What beloved dum dum? I'm Pickle Rick! Rick! Rick!
Sauce ran out quickly, and this caused an uproar amongst several fans that even the police had to intervene. This sauce is so rare that even people resell it at a very very high price. A part of the fans of Zack Snyder or the Snyderverse are angry with director James Gunn. All this stems from when it was announced that James would take over the universe or DC projects from now on. This led to the creation of a hashtag against James Gunn from the fans of Zack Snyder. Dedicating many messages of hatred to the director. Fortunately, this didn't go far, but it portrays the fans of Zack Snyder as quite toxic. At this point, what hasn't the fandom of The Last of Us done? Everyone already knows that when the second installment of the game came out, some people from the fandom threatened and harassed the voice actress of Abby from the second installment of the game. This also worsened with the release of the game series, when it was revealed that Bella Ramsey would be the person who would bring Ellie to life. This brought a lot of criticism regarding the appearance of the girl, making also very offensive comments, which is why the fandom of this game turned out to be a somewhat toxic one. I guess they just weren't satisfied because their favorite 14-year-old character wasn't attractive enough. That's basically what this boils down to.
Welcome to the 100-degree sweat test. Which one of these two antiperspirants can stand up to the heat?
The FNAF fandom is something curious. for sure. There are strange things and murky things like the sexualization towards robots, the crazy theories of the fandom, and questionable users. But let's talk about the Amino app for a second. This app allowed you to make a community and, interact with it. And this is where FNAF comes in. And the Amino community based on FNAF, they were mostly children, but over time this community became much weirder, since there was harassment of older people towards minors, and even inappropriate acts were committed in public chats where there were minors. Thankfully, the community on that app is currently dead, but there are several testimonials from users who claim that place was very murky. The fandom of My Hero Academia has earned a bad reputation, partly because of the ships and uproars they cause if you don't like the same thing as them. There are several cases to mention in this part of the fandom, such as the case in which an official translator from the company Bis Media, who translates the mangas into English, was harassed by these same fans to the point where he closed his Twitter account. Another case of this fandom was that of a user who made drawings with an adult character from the anime, representing unpleasant things that I cannot say because this is YouTube, and according to her, she made these drawings because they were commissions, which was a lie. There are other somewhat more absurd controversies like the criticism of an opening because a character was holding the hand of another character, which is funny because this ship is literally canon, or the controversy of the death of a character that some wanted and others hated. But I think if I extend this entry more, I could do a whole new video on it. In the series famous at the time called Game of Thrones, there was a character played by actor Jack Leeson. But many fans of the series started to harass him on social media because of the character he played, which was not to the liking of many people, leading the actor to retire from acting for a long time. Fortunately, the actor was able to overcome his trauma and return to the world of acting. A similar case happened with the series Breaking Bad, specifically with the character Skyler that Anna Gunn plays in the series. This actress received many insults and harassment because of the decisions his character made. This affected her very negatively that even the creator of the series had to talk about this hatred. Fortunately, unlike the previous case, it seems that Anna Gunn did not stop being an actress despite these insults. The anime Shingeki no Kyojin, or Attack on Titan, had a controversy due to the end of its anime or manga. When it was revealed what the end would be, the fans were divided. Some liked it and others did not. But the side that did not like it, at least a minority of it, began to attack and harass the creator of the manga. Where he ended up apologizing to all the followers of his work due to the ending at a convention. This is not the first time fans of Attack on Titan attacked something related to their work. They've also had other issues with the studio that was handling the anime, MAPPA. There was a lot of criticism towards MAPPA when they were handling the anime, like people were saying their animation was bad and their CGI was bad. But to be honest, it wasn't really that bad. It was pretty good. The Brawl Stars community is divided into two parts. Those kids who are just normal and play the game normally, and then the strange part, such as when a 43-year-old woman used the game to sexually harass a minor. As for the fandom itself, Supercell had held a contest where players could design a skin for a game character. Once the finalists were chosen, people could vote for which one would be included in the game. In the end, the winning skin was made by someone named Francis. Because people were unhappy with this due to vote discrepancies, they all attacked him, forcing him to delete his Twitter account for a while. What people don't know, or at least some didn't, is that Supercell had the final say, and the votes only determine who the finalists are. Francis returned, but it didn't last long because this user turned out to be problematic due to adult drawings of underage characters and also inappropriate messages to minors. Yeah. Finally, the guy left this message and left the platform.
Secret keeps me fresh. for those long flights, and it's totally middle seat approved.
At a convention, a fan, in quotation marks, gave a cookie to an artist who drew things from Undertale. The artist drew common ships that she liked. What the artist didn't know was that the so-called fan had bad intentions because there were needles inside the cookies. And one of the needles pierced the artist's tongue. The exact motive for this is not 100% known, but many claim that the fan hated her for a ship the artist had drawn, which is pretty extreme. So, yeah. It's a saying fan, probably mispronouncing that, means obsessive fan of a Korean idol. I think with this meaning, you already know more or less what we'll talk about here. Unfortunately, these people are real scared to these public figures. They can do truly repulsive things, reaching extreme cases of constant harassment and other things that I won't mention because YouTube would surely not like that in this video. One of the most disturbing cases was when the singer and model Tae Ki-jeon received a letter from a fan that was written in her blood. This pseudo-fan was denounced for this grotesque act and had to publicly apologize. The creator of the Owl series was cancelled due to the alleged whitewashing she did to the characters in a drawing to promote an episode. Unfortunately for the fandom, due to this silly controversy, it caused the creator to not upload many drawings on her social media and distance herself from the community. Fortunately, this did not go too far. Okay, so the band Panic at the Disco. For some strange reason, a fan baked cookies and gave them to the band members, and one of the members was very hungry, which he ended up eating 10 cookies, but he didn't realize that these cookies contained human hair. All the cookies contained human hair, and the band members who ate them had to pull out hairs out of their mouth. A very strange case on the part of the fan, for sure. There are many cases related to Star Wars fans, like when the first actor who played young Anakin suffered harassment from the press and fans, even being bullied at his school. A similar thing happened with actress Keji Marie, who suffered racist comments and harassment from toxic fans, which made her withdraw from social networks for a while. It's pretty surprising how people can't separate reality from fiction. The Friday Night Funkin' community has earned a very bad reputation, from making controversial mods to creators getting involved in serious controversies. They also harassed the creators of the game because many said they were scammers, making them close their accounts because of this. While everyone knows the topic I'm going to talk about, it was a topic that caused controversy in the community of this game. The case of the Sky mod was quite controversial, created by a 14-year-old girl from TikTok, but the characters had a very different age. It's a complex issue about the age of the character. But what matters here is when people started making risque drawings with this character and sending them to this girl, she closed her social media and deleted everything. The mod was also deleted with a message saying they ruined her life. It's no mystery that part of the Pokemon community is very weird. They criticize you if you don't like the game of the moment. They have a weird obsession with some Pokemon making weird drawings, and that is what we're going to focus on. There's a weird hobby that has even its own wiki called Pokephilia, which according to this wiki can be understood as a sexual fixation towards Pokemon. This is the darkest part of the fandom, and one would expect that most would agree that yeah, this is weird. But looking at the comments that are on this wiki, it leaves me doubting what these people actually think. They might be saying as a joke, or they might be serious. I don't actually know. The Marvel community has always been seen as a toxic community, like the sexist comments towards the actors of Captain Marvel, and the case that made this community a laughingstock. So when Spider-Man No Way Home opened ticket pre-sales, there was a commotion in theaters for the tickets. The case occurred in a theater in Cuernavaca, where people fought over tickets to the movie. This not only happened with Spider-Man, something similar happened with the Avengers Endgame movie, where they also fought over tickets. Fortunately, No similar case has occurred to date with another Marvel movie. The Smash community has earned a lot of bad fame. I'll talk about two cases in particular. The first was the harassment towards Masahiro Sakurai, creator of the game. Many people began to harass him on social media, to include the character Waluigi. This escalated to threats against him, so he resorted to blocking everyone, and also made Sakurai no longer accept any memes, even if they were harmless. The other case were the 50 accusations of sexual harassment, and the most notorious player here was Zero, but currently, Zero returned to social media saying that the accusations against him were false and it was a plan to affect his public figure, although he also accepted some bad behavior. But there's been so many incidents and so many serious accusations on famous Smash content creators, I could make a whole video about it. Okay, Genshin Impact. This game is hated by a lot of people and loved by others. One of the many cases is the harassment to the voices of the characters of the game. Like, for example, the voice of the character Kokomi, then many proceeded to send her hateful comments because the character was useless. But the most serious is undoubtedly the, P words in the community, dressing as characters of younger appearances and of younger ages. Yeah, there's been a couple cases of, like, P words doing murky stuff. While not all the community is like this, everyone already labels Genshin Impact as being full of people that are, powerful. Voltron, the legendary defender, is a Netflix series that had a very active fandom, and I don't know if it still has it, but with this I lead to a very problematic fandom. One of those fans demanded that some characters have a romantic relationship and threatened to publish very confidential documents. There's also the cupcake incident where a fan apparently sent cupcakes with broken glass to people from the studio, the studio that was creating the show.
We have climbing gyms all over the country. So we use Google Meet to connect
The Loud House. The Loud House is a children's series broadcasted on Nickelodeon. The series has a very large fandom, but this did not prevent people with dark intentions from entering the fandom of this children's series. The premise of the series is about a boy and 10 sisters. With that, people began to make very risque drawings about this series, reaching the extreme of making drawings of even the baby of the series, and it was a very tasty, and it was a very weird environment overall. It is well known that furries to this day are not very well liked by a lot of people, perhaps for having weird taste, quote unquote, or for things that part of the fandom has done, but there would be an event that would completely mark this community. Rainforest is an event dedicated 100% to the topic of furries, which was very important for the community of furries. But the 2015 edition was the one that caused a great disaster that even seemed like it wasn't true. It didn't even seem real. This event was 4 days long and people rested in the rooms of a hotel of the convention. At first, everything was going well, but then everything went to you know where. People smuggled illegal substances inside the hotel, such as drugs and alcohol. Reports of damage to the hotel by the drunken furries were frequent. Elevators were damaged, causing one person to get trapped. A group removed the smoke detector to smoke in peace. Another loosened the screws to the toilets, so when someone used it, the toilet would just explode. Leaving a person who waited a lot needing help. And of course, these are just some acts, but there are more. People committed vandalism, blowing up the pool pump of the event, rooms nearly caught fire, pizzas on the ceiling, people pooping in the pool, people performing adult acts in the bathrooms, and the notorious dirty diapers, all of which the convention staff had to pay for the damages. This caused Rainforest to be permanently cancelled, and no other convention of this style had to be held again. A very weird case, and believe me, I want to bleach my eyes after researching for all this information. If you thought the previous was disturbing, well, we're still with the disturbing stuff because now we're going to talk about the Sonic fandom. It is well known that the Sonic fandom is never satisfied and complains about even the smallest things. But there's also the other side of the fandom that creates things about Sonic, such as comics, drawings, fan films, and those things. A comic that traumatized many was titled Two Babies and a Fox. Surely you've seen the image of this Tails sitting on a bench. Well, it comes from that comic, yeah. Which I will try to soften because believe me, it's not nice at all. This comic centers around adult themes, but on another level, where Tails does the most strange and weird things you can imagine with this character and the baby from this comic. And And let's not even talk about Christian, who I think everyone already knows about. The My Little Pony fandom has some very strange aspects. I'll mention 2 cases I found. The first was an obsessive fan who killed 8 people at a FedEx branch. The perpetrator of this crime was overly obsessed with the My Little Pony series. This man belonged to a Facebook group called Bronies, which mostly had adult men who are extreme fans of the show and were not well-intentioned. It's not known exactly why he did this, as after doing this, he committed suicide. Another case was that My Little Pony, or the fans, started the trend of the infamous jar with a character inside. And the substance inside of it. A weird fan showed an image of the character Rainbow Dash inside the jar, and with that substance, which I'm not going to mention. If you know, you know. An artist from the Steven Universe fandom who published her drawings on the network Tumblr suffered a lot of harassment. Why? Well, the girl made a drawing of Steven with his mother and father. The problem was that people noticed the thin arm of Steven's mother, calling the artist fatphobic, since in the series, the arm of Steven's mother is not like that. The harassment was so intense that the girl attempted suicide. Fortunately, it was only an attempt and she is still alive. But the bullying she received from the fandom was incredibly messed up. And well, here we can